Majjhima Nikaya. 4 Bhayabherava Sutta. Fear and Dread. Part 1, 2. 1. Thus have I heard. On one occasion the Blessed One was living at Savath in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. 2. Then the Brahmin Janasoni 56 went to the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he sat down at one side and said, Master Gautama, when clansmen have gone forth from the home life into homelessness out of faith in Master Gautama, do they have Master Gautama for their leader, their helper, and their guide? And do these people follow the example of Master Gautama? 57. That is so, Brahman, that is so. When clansmen have gone forth from the home life into homelessness out of faith in me, they have me for their leader, their helper, and their guide. And these people follow my example. But, Master Gautama, remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest are hard to endure, seclusion is hard to practice, and it is hard to enjoy solitude. One would think the jungles must rob the bhikkhu of his mind, if he has no concentration. 17. That is so, Brahman, that is so. Remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest are hard to endure, seclusion is hard to practice, and it is hard to enjoy solitude. One would think the jungles must rob the bhikkhu of his mind, if he has no concentration. 3. Before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, I too considered thus. Remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest are hard to endure. The jungles must rob the bhikkhu of his mind, if he has no concentration. 4. I considered thus, whenever recluses or Brahmins unpurified in bodily conduct resort to remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest. Then owing to the defect of their unpurified bodily conduct these good recluses and Brahmins evoke unwholesome fear and dread. But I do not resort to remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest unpurified in bodily conduct. I am purified in bodily conduct. I resort to remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest as one of the noble ones with bodily conduct purified. Seeing in myself this purity of bodily conduct, I found great solace in dwelling in the forest. 5-7. I considered thus, whenever recluses or Brahmins unpurified in verbal conduct, unpurified in mental conduct, unpurified in livelihood resort to remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest, they evoke unwholesome fear and dread. But I am purified in livelihood. I resort to remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest as one of the noble ones with livelihood purified. Seeing in myself this purity of livelihood, I found great solace in dwelling in the forest. 8. I considered thus, whenever recluses or Brahmins who are covetous and full of lust, I am uncovetous. 18. 9. With a mind of ill will and intentions of hate, I have a mind of loving kindness. 10. Overcome by sloth and torpor, I am without sloth and torpor. 11. Overcome with restlessness and unpeaceful in mind, I have a peaceful mind. 12. Uncertain and doubting, I have gone beyond doubt. 13. 19. Given to self-praise and disparagement of others, I am not given to self-praise and disparagement of others. 14. Subject to alarm and terror, I am free from trepidation. 15. Desirous of gain, honor, and renown, I have few wishes. 16. Lazy and wanting in energy, I am energetic. 17. 20. Unmindful and not fully aware, I am established in mindfulness. 18. Unconcentrated and with straying minds, I am possessed of concentration. 19. I considered thus, whenever recluses or Brahmins devoid of wisdom, drivellers, resort to remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest. Then, owing to the defect of their being devoid of wisdom and drivelers, these good recluses and Brahmins evoke unwholesome fear and dread. But I do not resort to remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest devoid of wisdom, a driveler. I am possessed of wisdom. I resort to remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest as one of the noble ones possessed of wisdom. Seeing in myself this possession of wisdom, I found great solace in dwelling in the forest. 20. I considered thus, there are the specially auspicious nights of the 14th, the 15th, and the 8th of the fortnight. 59. Now what if, on such nights as these, I were to dwell in such awe-inspiring, horrifying abodes as orchard shrines, woodland shrines, and tree shrines? Perhaps I might encounter that fear and dread. And later, on such specially auspicious nights as the 14th, the 15th, and the 8th of the fortnight, I dwelt in such awe-inspiring, horrifying abodes as orchard shrines, woodland shrines, and tree shrines. And while I dwelt there, a wild animal would come up to me, or a peacock 21 would knock off a branch, or the wind would rustle the leaves. I thought, what now if this is the fear and dread coming? I thought, why do I dwell always expecting fear and dread? What if I subdue that fear and dread while keeping the same posture that I am in when it comes upon me? While I walked, the fear and dread came upon me. I neither stood nor sat nor lay down till I had subdued that fear and dread. While I stood, the fear and dread came upon me. I neither walked nor sat nor lay down till I had subdued that fear and dread. While I sat, the fear and dread came upon me. I neither walked nor stood nor lay down till I had subdued that fear and dread. While I lay down, the fear and dread came upon me. I neither walked nor stood nor sat down till I had subdued that fear and dread. 21. There are, Brahman, some recluses and Brahmins who perceive day when it is night and night when it is day. I say that on their part this is an abiding in delusion. But I perceive night when it is night and day when it is day. Rightly speaking, were it to be said of anyone, a being not subject to delusion has appeared in the world for the welfare and happiness of many, out of compassion for the world, for the good, welfare, and happiness of gods and humans, it is of me indeed that rightly speaking this should be said. 22. Tireless energy was aroused in me and unremitting mindfulness was established. My body was tranquil and untroubled, my mind concentrated and unified. 23. Quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, I entered upon and abided in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought, with rapture and pleasure born of seclusion. Be continued.